Valentine's Day or a special treat for your loved one, okay? Very sucky and corny, but I love it. A chocolate cake, chocolate mousse, and then a red ganache glaze. That's what we're going to do today. We're going to start with our chocolate cake, which is plain flour, caster sugar, a light brown sugar, cocoa, bicarbonate of soda, baking powder, eggs, olive oil, sour cream, unsalted butter and water. For our mousse, we've got a whipping cream, dark chocolate and gelatin sheets. For our red glaze, we're using water, caster sugar, glucose, white chocolate, condensed milk, a red food colour and gelatin sheets. For our white ganache, we've got a white chocolate and cream. So I've got the flour, and I'm going to sieve my baking powder and my bicarb to make sure there's no lumps. So we're going to start with all our dry ingredients. So I'm going to put all my dry ingredients in. So I've got my sugar, my brown sugar, my cocoa, and I'm using a dark cocoa, my plain flour with my raising agents. Okay, so I'm going to put my butter on the stove. So we need to melt our butter for our chocolate cake, which we're going to do. So we don't want it hot, just melt it while I'm mixing this. Okay? So on a low speed, just to incorporate it. I've got 6 eggs that I need, and just whole eggs. All right, so that's nicely blended. I'm going to check my stuff on the stove. Okay, perfect. It's nice and melted. I'll let it cool to the side. Now I'm going to pop my eggs in. My oil, I'm using an olive oil. My sour cream. This is the secret to this recipe. It gives it a really nice staying ability. Most European cakes have got some sort of cream or sour cream, and it makes such a difference when you actually make the product. Okay, and I'm going to add my cold butter. Okay, so I'm not going to put it all in because I want to make sure that it actually incorporates well. All we need is a nice smooth mixture. Okay, so I'm going to turn it off for a minute. Okay, I'm just going to scrape it down just in case there's anything caught on the side. No, increase the speed so I can add my butter. So as soon as that's incorporated, we'll turn it off. In the meantime, we're going to grab we've got a sliced tin, and I'm going to pop some baking paper in it, and I need to make sure that all the sides are covered, but I only need a really small amount. So this is a good time to actually make 2 cakes. So you could make 2 of these, or you could make a nice 22 centimetre cake as well, if that's something that works for you. Okay, so my slice is ready. Okay, so I'm going to pop that in now, and I'll pop it in the oven. I've set my oven at 170 degrees. I don't want it too hot. Okay, so I'm now going to get my 22 centimetre cake. So this recipe would do a slice and then one of these as well. Okay, so if you wanted to, that works really well, because obviously then you can have just the cake, or you can have the slice, you can have for cupcakes. All that works really well. So we're going to pop our chocolate on to melt. So it's on a slow boil with no heat, so the chocolate's not getting hot, just over the water. So we're going to move on to our mousse. Okay? So I've got 3 gelatin leaves, and I'm going to pop them in some cold water and leave them there for 5 minutes. I've got some really interesting, you can make them any thickness you want, but you could just use a cake tin, okay? So that These are just a silicone board so I can build up my mousse whatever size I want. So I put some silicone paper at the bottom, some baking paper, and I'm going to put a little bit of my cream into a bowl, about 100 mils, okay? And then the remainder I'm going to whip up. So as soon as this softens, I'll warm this up and pop that into my cream. I'm going to whip my cream up, squeeze that out. So my chocolate's warm. Ready to go. So I'm looking for medium peaks. So that's done. And I'm now going to warm my cream up. And I'm going to warm my gelatin up. Okay, so I don't want it too hot. I just want to warm it up so that it goes into the chocolate and cream. So that's warm. Okay, I'll put my cream in. And now I'm going to get my chocolate. Okay, so I'm going to pop my chocolate, the cream into my chocolate. And I'm going to mix that through. So that both consistencies, the chocolate and the cream that I've just whipped, are similar. Okay, so I'm now going to pop that in and mix it. Okay, and then you've got it. Okay, so I'm giving it just a light stir. I don't want any lumps, but I also don't want to lose any aeration. So you've got a nice smooth chocolate mousse. Okay, so I'm going to pop that in and then I can let that set. Okay, it's really nice and smooth. Now look, if you're cleverer than me, you'd have some heart-shaped tins at home or some silicone moulds. I discovered in the middle of doing this that I don't know where my moulds are, so we're going to cut it out today. It's a little bit more effort, but they work really well. Okay, flatten it out. Now you want it as even as possible. So this would go pretty well in like the sliced tins into a baking tray. Just line it. Or if you want to, you can buy some heart moulds. So I don't want to lose any air. You can see that I'm just doing a little jiggle so that it's nice and flat. So let's just check our chocolate cake. So the cake's in the oven. Okay, the chocolate cake's now ready. I'll let that cool. So I'm going to make our ganache now. Okay, so I've got my chocolate and my cream. So I'm going to pour my cream in and I'm going to let it boil. So as soon as it boils, I'll pour it over the chocolate. So you can see it's now starting to boil. So I'm going to turn it off. So I've got my double boiler ready. I'm just going to have it on very low. Pop my chocolate on, pour my cream over. Okay, so I want it to warm up. So I'm going to leave it to sit for a few minutes. Okay, and then obviously the heat underneath as well will help this move along. Okay, so we'll come back to this. So in the meantime, we're going to make our glaze, our chocolate glaze. So I've got my water, which I'm going to pop in, and my sugar. We've got condensed milk and glucose. And this will give you a really nice stable glaze to go over our hearts. So once this is mixed, you can stop stirring and we'll let it bring it to the boil to 103 degrees. Okay, so my mixture's now cooled down, okay? So it's not too hot, okay? I'm just on a very, very low heat. I'm going to squeeze my gelatin out and I'm going to pop it in. Okay, I'm going to mix it through until it dissolves. So it's all gone through. So I'm now going to pop some red colour in and then I'm going to run it through my sieve to make sure it's a nice consistency. So red colour in. So you could do any colour, as I said. I just like the red. Okay, and I'm now going to put it through a sieve just to make sure there's no pieces. So that's a nice pouring consistency. So all I'm doing is making sure that there's no lumps in my mix. So, because I want it nice and smooth. So that's ready now to be used to coat my hearts. So chocolate mousse is now set, looking really good. So this is going to now go on to the bottom of this. So you could actually get 2 of these out of it. So I'm going to cut this in half because I don't want it too thick. Okay, so I'm going to pop this now back in the freezer. Okay. So pop this on like so. Now make sure that when you're doing it that you don't let the mousse set too much, because if you let it set too much it won't adhere to each other. Okay, so push it on and then pop it back in the freezer. Okay, so I've taken our mousse out of the freezer, and I'm now going to take the rims off. So the frame, it's fully set. I'm just cutting around the sides. So I'm going to put another piece of paper on the other side, and then I'm going to turn those on. Now, as I said to you, I don't have heart-shaped moulds, but I've got cutters, so I'm going to use those. So whatever size you want, okay? I'm going to use these ones today, okay? So I'm going to cut them out, okay? Okay, like so. So I'll pop these on my wire. And we want we want it pouring consistency. Okay, so I'm going to pop it in. So I'm going to re-glaze these. As I said, I wanted to have a slightly thicker glaze. So I've let them set, and I'm now going to give them another glaze, just so I can get a better colour on it. So our cakes are set. So now I'm going to pop some ganache on it for decoration. You could write on it, but I'm just going to do an easy design. Okay, so we've got our baking paper, put it into a long triangle. Finger in half, pop it into 3. Make sure that it's nice and tight. Our ganache is runny enough that it'll pipe. I hope. If it doesn't, we'll rewarm it a bit. So I'm going to fill it about half full. Now look, I know you can do very fancy things, but I thought I wanted to do stuff that you have at home. I could use moulds. It'd be a lot easier. But if you haven't got a mould, there's always ways to do things, and I suppose that's what I was trying to do. Okay, so now in half, make sure to see my seams at the front, and then I'm just going to cut what I need. So let's just check that it's okay. Yep, looks good. It's a nice, easy design. And you've got a homemade Valentine's Day ready to go. Or just something special for a special dessert. Okay, we're going to let that set. And we're done.